Welcome to day 2 of the Nervous System Retuning Immersion series. I am really looking forward to sharing today's topic, which is around the idea of those 3 parts of the nervous system, deepening our understanding, and a little bit more about mapping where we're at to find out which one of those aspects we may be currently engaged in. A lot of us, especially high functioning people, can really express outwardly like everything is going on all right, and yet under the surface there can be this subtle bracing where there's tightness in the jaw, a shortness of the breath, and almost a readiness to mobilize at any moment. And this is usually a sympathetic chronic undercurrent state that happens for most of us because our bodies were designed for a very different environment than the current modern one that we're living in right now. So it is really important for us to start to understand, to feel into these undercurrents, these states, and how they influence us in our day-to-day life, and what we can do to shift from one state to another. So today we're going to talk about that kind of subtle bracing of being in a low grade sympathetic response, which can show up as chronic stress. And we can become so conditioned to normalize that this is just our everyday life after years, perhaps, of this behavior and this conditioning steeping into the body, into the nervous system. So today's topic is really understanding that these 3 states of the nervous system bring us to different storylines. So when we're in ventral vagal, we're connected, we're creative, we're intimate, we're present, we're safe, we're telling inclusive stories. Then when we go into that sympathetic activation state, we are starting to tell stories of defensiveness, of one right, one wrong, of conflict, of avoidance, of wanting to repair. And so we're in this kind of dance of sympathetic response where we're feeling disconnected, not feeling safe. We're on edge, alert, looking for cues. Maybe we're also just hypersensitive to cues, and maybe we're reading them right and maybe we're not. So really telling a story, usually of some kind of conflict story in the sympathetic state. Then when we go into the dorsal state, that freeze response, we're feeling isolated, we're feeling alone, we're telling stories that no one cares, or no one can feel how I'm feeling, that I have no support. These types of stories start to be told, and this can help us map where we're at on this kind of autonomic ladder, is a way to frame it, and explore that. Okay, I'm feeling isolated, I'm feeling stuck, I'm feeling immobilized, I'm feeling frozen, I'm feeling numb. These are not bad things, they're simply markers and information that we can now learn. Once we have this information, what our body needs to be supported and to go up that ladder back into ventral vagal, back into connection and regulation. Now, all of these 3 parts of our nervous system are here to keep us safe, and they have a beautiful function. So I love the idea of bringing compassion and gratitude into this part of this journey, where we're starting to acknowledge and understand where we're at, mapping out where we are. Because if we don't know where we are, how are we going to know? And if we don't know where we want to go, how are we going to get there? So these are things to just start to notice. What kind of story are you telling? Where does it fit in those 3 kind of categories? And really being present with where you might be at without resisting it or avoiding it, and really learning how we can start to, again, befriend the nervous system and to learn what we need to support ourselves. For day 2, our practice is going to be a 4-6 breathing pattern with the exhale of sound, making the sound woo. Now, Breathing is our fastest way to shift the autonomic nervous system. And when we pair that with sound, we are really supporting ourselves and giving us a very effective, quick support to move from this ladder, whether it's more of a freeze shutdown or sympathetic fight flight activation, helping us get back to that ventral vagal state. And all of the practices that we're going to be sharing are ways that I have personally found to fast track my way. And this is something that also takes time. So now I can really quickly change my state because I've learned to train my nervous system that these are sounds and breathing patterns that create safety. And the more experiences I have of doing this and having a sensation of safety, the faster my body shifts into those states. So anytime we're exhaling longer than we're inhaling, we are activating the parasympathetic nervous system. There's actual signals in the lungs that go right into our brain and say, we're safe. Whether if we're having that extended exhale, if we're having that shorter, more rapid breathing, then we're telling our brains that we're not safe. Now, we have the ability to influence our breath, and sometimes that can be easier than other times. But the more you practice this, the easier it becomes. So, what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in, if you can, through the nose to the count of 4. And we're going to exhale with the voo sound. Voo. For as long as you are comfortable on the exhale. Again, the lower the pitch, the sound is going to be supportive to you. So inhaling again through the nose at your own pace, you'll do this to the count of 4. Exhaling with that voo, V-O-O sound. Voo. It's okay how that's sounding for you. Again, you can imagine yourself sounding this as we learned yesterday. It's still going to support you. And really just counting to 4, or if it feels good to go beyond that, again, what's more important, keeping this breath going now, 4 in again, is that you're exhaling longer than you're inhaling. Woo. Woo has been researched to support, again, the vagus nerve stimulation and toning to activate the parasympathetic nervous system in as little as 3 of these breath patterns. And I also invite you to try that a little bit longer, doing them in your own pace, in your own way, and finding this in different environments. So we'll do one last one together, into the nose if you can for 4. If you want to close your eyes or not, up to you. And out with woo. Beautiful. If you want to keep going, inviting you to do that. And on the exhale, just softening, noticing your spine, your alignment, your body, and really tuning in to how it feels to have that sensation, that sound, vibration going through the body. And now inviting us to just notice, how are we feeling? Even if it's, again, 2% better, that's an improvement. And the more we do this and signal our body that we're safe, the more this is going to more quickly activate this parasympathetic nervous system, this more connected, social, engaged part of our being. So inviting you in the next day and beyond to really do this before you send an email, or before you go into a meeting or have a hard conversation, or in between when you're having a break, when you're in the washroom. Like, really just explore this in different times of the day and notice your state change before and after. So inviting you to continue this beyond this moment and see what results you get. And I really look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's video.